Yes. We're going to energy drink, so I'm not full of sleep.
Okay. Hold on.
Welcome. This is a meeting of the Talking Points for Planning Commission draft DEIR public comment meetings. On behalf of the City of Brisbane and the Planning Commission, I want to welcome you to tonight's meeting. And we have a speaker. Speaker number one is Ken McIntyre.
Well, I'm Ken McIntyre from San Bruno Mountain Watch, and thank you all for being here. I got here a little early because I thought that I didn't want to stand in line. The scope of the EIR is both stimulating and daunting. It seems like an encyclopedia to me, and just as a reference, like if I want to talk about the geology or the archaeological history or, you know, the chemicals in the Baylands, I mean, as a reference document, I think it's great. I think it's probably really hard for most citizens to actually get into it, because in any chapter you got to go 15 pages before you get to the questions about you know, whether there are going to be impacts, and you really need all of the background in order to understand those questions. So I think it's just really tough. And I expect to be spending more time and make written comments before the deadline. My comments and questions tonight are just basically pretty general. One is in the biological section. At the beginning it mentions that there were 4 reconnaissance field trips over 6 years. 3 of them were in the spring and 1 was in June. And I really question whether that's enough surveying to really capture the biological resources in the Baylands. So that's one question. And then I've always had a lot of questions about the ability of humans to build structures that are going to hold up in the Baylands with an area that's subject to liquefaction and strong shaking. And it's not just that. You might be able to, you know, put some pilings into the ground and have the building stand up, but then every piling is going through toxic material and every piling has to be sealed. And I just don't see how, the more buildings you put up, the more problem you're going to have after an earthquake, resealing all those pilings. And, you know, on top of that, you've got sea level rise coming. So that, I just really, I mean, when I read that, oh yeah, these are significant impacts, but we can mitigate for these, I just have a huge pile of skepticism about that, especially in light of, you know, world events like Fukushima and stuff like that. And the engineers are always saying they can make things work. That's their job. Third question, given the, no, that was this third question. Looks like I repeated the question there. Then I'll move on to the next one. There's 100 proposed mitigation measures in the document, and the sustainability section adds even more. Just from my experience at San Bruno Mountain Watch during the Northeast Ridge battle a couple of years ago, and having read the Habitat Conservation Plan, huge document that gets amended all the time, and seeing all of the plans, all of the mitigations, this is what we're going to do here, and that's what we're going to do there, and then seeing that even since that battle and the Northeast Ridge project going forward, troubles with getting homeowners within the homeowners associations to comply with the mitigations and regulations. How, when you've got hundreds and hundreds of mitigations that are going to change over time as the land settles and there are little cracks in the roadways and somebody's going to come out and fix that, or the climate is changing and so the plants that they planted in the wetlands aren't surviving to the level that they are supposed to. Who's going to be checking all of those things and evaluating what's effective and what's not, and then who's going to be enforcing the regulations and enforcing consequences? It just seems like a overwhelming task to me. And then finally, none of the plans that are considered mention the existence of the Mission Blue Nursery in that section there right behind the fire station. And it, by this point, is a regional resource. And I'm not sure how it got omitted when they talk about what's going to be there in the future. But it's a solid building. It's not producing much, if any, pollution. And it's a resource. It should be in there. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to speak at this time?
Go, Kenji. Come on.
Did you fill out one of these cards?
No, I didn't see them.
Yeah.
Are we speaking?
Hmm?
Are we speaking and fill it out?
Yeah, come on up and start speaking. And
Okay. Yeah, I had some questions. One was I tried to go through as much as I could in these different documents. It seems impossible, but I did my best. And I didn't notice anything regarding the rising sea levels that are predicted. What measures are being taken to address those? And I don't know what they were going to be expecting, but once I had heard that it was going to be like, I don't know if it was realistic or not, but it seemed like a 50-foot rise in the sea levels. I don't know what it is, but I'm just wondering if that was addressed in some manner in the EIR. And another that isn't, I read through different mitigations and different ways that they were going to address the increased traffic and increased population and the impact on the community. And I just can't imagine it being as clean and as well thought out as this plan suggests it will be. It just doesn't seem possible. And so I don't know if that can be answered, because I know there are, what they talked about, the different ideas about carpooling and all that kind of stuff, giving people bus passes. It doesn't seem like it's going to be very effective in addressing the increased traffic and, the kind of growth that they're expecting. I mean, it did say something about, it's going to be a substantial impact on the, the number of houses and the number of people and all that going on. I just didn't understand how that addressed that question very well. I mean, it just seemed to be kind of unrealistic. And I think that was it. I assume, I didn't see it, but I assume the earthquake issues are being addressed. Is that in there somewhere? I couldn't find that either, but it must be in there somewhere, I would assume, because the Hayward earthquake is ready to go any second now, and when that happens, how do these plans basically address the inevitable? Okay, thank you.
so Kanchi, can you state your name?
Oh, I'm sorry, Kanji Nishijima. I'm a Brisbane resident, 102 Monterey Street.
and then fill the card out, and
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
thank you very much. At this time, would anyone else like to speak?
Come on down.
Speak now.
I haven't read the thing. I'm going to start reading. I'm Fran Martin from Visitation Valley. I'm with the Visitation Valley Greenway Project and Visitation Valley Planning Alliance. Oh my. As I said, I haven't read it, but I've been saying this all along. I hope that Brisbane pays attention to the needs of Visitation Valley. I do know that most of the development is going to be in the northern part of the site, and that's really of more consequence to our neighborhood than it is to Brisbane. So we're concerned about traffic, about the aesthetics, just all those things. Excuse me, that I'm catching a cold. And if there's going to be housing, even if there's not going to be housing, we'd like to have a green connection with all the greenery that you're going to have, all the open space you're going to have in the southern part of the site. So, and we're also very, very concerned about recology, particularly since we're putting 1,650 units of housing at Schlage Lock. I know that whole process is coming up, but I would hope that you would pay attention to the needs of our neighborhood, particularly at Schlage Lock and Little Hollywood, in terms of the aesthetics of what's going to happen in ecology. There needs to be some kind of barrier, physical barrier between, physical visual barrier between, and noise barrier between that new development at Recology, upgrading their facility. We're not against that happening, and we're not against development, and that's it. I don't have anything, specific till I look at that document.
Thanks, Fran.
Thank you, Fran. So again, this is the City of Brisbane and the Planning Commission, and we are here for the draft EIR public comment meeting. And if you wish to make a comment, please come and state your name, and we'll be thrilled to hear from you. Thank you.
Come on down.
Welcome. On behalf of the City of Brisbane and the Planning Commission, we are here currently to accept public comment for the draft DIR. At this point, we've had 3 speakers. If anyone else wants to come down, please feel free and bring your thoughts. If we do not have anyone in the next 20 minutes or so, I think we will probably decide that we will not have anyone and close up the meeting. But please feel free to come down and make comments. Thank you very much.
Hang on.
Are we on? Kanchi.
One second.
Hi.
Right.
Yeah, Kanji Nishijima. I wanted to add to my previous comments or questions. What I wanted to do was basically, now that I've had a chance to at least go through the summary, it seems to confirm my concerns, and that is that the traffic, the issues with all the traffic and all the disruption to the different roadways apparently will be significant and unavoidable, and I don't think that's acceptable at all. Also, the air quality, apparently it's going to be higher than considered acceptable, and certainly the fact that we are in a situation where global warming is a fact. We need to take every measure possible to do our part to try and minimize things as they get worse. And this apparently, according to the summary, these projects will in fact be significant. These projects will in fact adversely impact our air quality, contrary to the a clean air plan. And for those reasons, I as a resident of Brisbane would choose not to see these projects go ahead. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Does anyone else here wish to speak? Well, at this time, I think we will close the public comment for the draft DEIR. And thank you very much for your participation. And thank you very much. Bye-bye.